All right, so we're diving deep into crypto for the next 3 months, looking ahead into 2025.
Kind of like a sneak peek, huh?
Exactly, yeah. We're working with basically a documentary-style overview that you sent over. So think of this deep dive as your guide to, the big crypto events coming up, predictions for like Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of the big names, and even some tips for navigating the market.
Yeah, we want to equip you with all the knowledge you need to make smart decisions. It's going to be a wild ride.
So let's get started with those events. Our source points out 3 big ones for Q1.
Okay.
Starting with Consensus Hong Kong.
Yeah.
It's in February.
Always a big one.
Basically, it's like the Super Bowl for blockchain.
Yeah.
Global leaders, huge announcements, the whole shebang.
Definitely the place to be if you want to know where the industry is headed. I mean, we often see big partnerships announced there, new projects that could totally disrupt the space, and just like shifts in thinking that can impact, well, the whole crypto ecosystem.
And the timing this year, it's right after Lunar New Year, which is a big holiday in Hong Kong and across Asia.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that could actually amplify the event's reach, bring in a much bigger audience, maybe even lead to some surprising collaborations.
Then there's ETH Denver.
ETH Denver.
Also in February.
Always a blast.
This is the place to be if you're all about Ethereum. Developers, DeFi enthusiasts, everyone passionate about decentralized apps.
Yeah. ETH Denver is known for its workshops, technical deep dives. It's really hands-on, and it's got this super collaborative vibe, like a real breeding ground for innovation.
You can expect to see like the most cutting-edge projects there, discussions about how to scale Ethereum for mass adoption, and maybe even glimpses into the future of DeFi.
Totally.
Our source even suggests that this year, ETH Denver will focus on the Pectra upgrade and what it means for certain DeFi protocols.
Oh, that makes sense. Pectra could be a real game changer for Ethereum. Enhanced scalability, better security, the whole 9 yards. If it delivers on its promises, well, we could see a whole new level of adoption for DeFi apps. Just imagine protocols like a Hive or Uniswap, even faster and more secure.
That would be, pretty big for investors.
Definitely.
And then moving on to a more global stage.
Okay.
We've got the Blockchain Forum 2025 happening in April in Moscow.
Interesting.
This one takes a broader view, exploring how blockchain is being integrated across various industries, not just in the crypto world, but, everywhere.
Yeah. With its location in Moscow, I'd expect we'll see a focus on how blockchain is being used in, say, supply chain management, government services, maybe even energy, possibly with a bit of Russian or Eastern European perspective.
It's an angle I hadn't even considered. All right, so now let's talk about specific cryptocurrencies. The source zeroes in on 3 big players. You probably already know them: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Bitcoin, the original cryptocurrency, is sitting at around $98,730 right now.
Pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah.
Considering all the volatility we've seen in the market.
Yeah, but it has been a roller coaster ride. Remember that $2 billion liquidation event that was triggered by those surprise tariff announcements?
Yeah, definitely. Shows you just how sensitive Bitcoin can be to, global economic factors and geopolitics.
Yeah. Makes you wonder what the next few months might hold for Bitcoin, right?
Absolutely.
Ethereum, of course, is gearing up for its Pectra upgrade, which we talked about. It could be, huge for the entire Ethereum ecosystem.
Pectra is designed to address some of the challenges that Ethereum has faced for a while now. Scalability and transaction fees mainly. If it's successful, we could see even more developers and users flocking to the platform, which would really solidify its position, as the leading smart contract platform.
And then there's Solana, the rising star, known for its lightning fast transaction speeds and those crazy low fees. It's really gaining traction, attracting lots of developers and building up a pretty vibrant ecosystem.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating about Solana is its consensus mechanism. It's called proof of history, and it's what contributes to its speed and efficiency. It's a real contender to Ethereum, especially when it comes to things like DeFi and NFTs.
So the big question is, how will these events we talked about, how might they influence how Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana perform over the next 3 months? And how can you, the listener, use this information to potentially, benefit from what happens? We'll get into that next.
Yeah, we'll break it all down. I think, when you look at those events like Consensus and ETH Denver, it's pretty clear they could really shake things up price-wise, especially for Ethereum and Solana. big announcements, partnerships, even just the general positive buzz coming out of those events, it can boost investor confidence like crazy.
Oh, yeah. And we can't forget about that blockchain forum in Moscow. Even though it's not just about cryptocurrency, any good news about blockchain being adopted in, traditional industries, it could have a ripple effect on the whole crypto market, Bitcoin included.
Absolutely. It all ties together, right? And that leads us to another big thing our source emphasizes, market trends.
Like those underlying currents that can really steer the whole crypto ship.
Exactly.
One trend I'm really noticing is this move towards clearer regulations. The U.S. Congress forming that bipartisan working group on cryptocurrency. That's a pretty big deal.
It really is. It shows that governments are, they're finally taking crypto seriously. And these clearer regulations, they could bring more stability, make the market seem more legitimate. And that could attract those big institutional investors who've been kind of hesitant to jump in because of all the uncertainty. This could be really good for the established players, Bitcoin and Ethereum.
But more regulations, that could also have some downsides, right? Some people say it could stifle innovation, limit that decentralized nature of crypto that we all love.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Yeah.
It's a tricky balance.
Yeah.
How these regulations are actually put into practice, that's what's going to make all the difference. Too strict, and it could hold back growth. But well-crafted regulations, they could help create a market that's more mature, more sustainable.
Then you've got that whole meme coin craziness, which seems to be getting, crazier by the day. The Trump coin, that's a perfect example of how fast these meme-driven tokens can just explode.
Yeah, meme coins. They're a fascinating thing. They show you the power of social media, how hype can spread in the crypto world. They're super volatile, super risky. But they also show how accessible crypto is. It's democratic almost. Anyone can jump in.
But for someone who's, trying to navigate the crypto market seriously, how should they deal with these meme coins? Just ignore them completely.
It's tough. They're purely speculative. Almost impossible to predict which ones will take off and which ones will crash and burn. There's potential for quick gains, sure, but you got to remember, they're driven by hype, by sentiment, not necessarily any real underlying value.
So approach with extreme caution and definitely don't go all in on any single meme coin.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of market trends, there's all this talk about a potential altcoin season coming up. Our source explains this as when altcoins, basically anything that's not Bitcoin, start to do better than Bitcoin.
I've heard that term thrown around, but I'm not sure I fully get it. What triggers an altcoin season?
Well, a few things can contribute to it. Historically, they've happened after Bitcoin halving events. That's when the rate at which new Bitcoins are created, it gets cut in half. And that can lead to a shift in where investors put their attention and their money. They start looking at altcoins more.
So basically, when Bitcoin's growth slows down, investors start looking for the next big thing, and that's when altcoins have their moment.
Yeah, that's the general idea. But remember, market cycles, they're complex. You can't always predict them. The Bitcoin halving could spark an altcoin season, sure, but no guarantees.
So how can someone, be ready for a potential altcoin season without taking on too much risk?
Diversification is key. Our source really stresses this. Spread your investments across multiple cryptocurrencies. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Instead, do your research, find promising altcoins. Look for ones with solid fundamentals, active development teams, real-world applications.
It's like, you wouldn't put all your money into a single stock, so why do that with crypto?
Exactly. A diversified crypto portfolio, it can help you handle those market swings and, potentially benefit from growth in different parts of the crypto world.
But with so many altcoins out there, it can be overwhelming to even know where to start. How do you filter out all the noise and find those hidden gems?
Staying informed, that's how. Our source recommends keeping up with the news, following project developments, check out reputable news websites, podcasts, even engage with those communities on social media, see what they're saying, but always, always, always do your own research. Don't just blindly follow the hype train.
Sounds like a lot to keep up with, almost a full-time job.
It can feel that way for sure. But the crypto world, it's constantly changing. That's what makes it so exciting. The more you learn, the better prepared you'll be to make smart choices, navigate this crazy landscape.
And speaking of navigating, our source has some great recommendations for managing risk and making the most of this information. Let's jump into those.
Okay, so we've talked about diversification, staying informed, but what about actually managing those investments? I mean, the crypto market, it can swing wildly. Our source, they really emphasize having a solid risk management plan. Yeah, for sure. One of the key things they recommend is Setting clear investment goals. Like before you even think about putting money into crypto, you got to ask yourself, what are you hoping to get out of it? Long-term growth, quick profits, something in between. Knowing your goals, it helps you figure out how much risk you're comfortable with and make better decisions.
Right. So if you're in it for the long haul, you might be okay with those dips, holding on even when the market gets a little shaky.
Exactly. And for those who are, well, a little more cautious, our source suggests looking into tools like stop loss orders. Basically, it's an automated instruction that sells your assets if they drop below a certain price. Helps limit your potential losses.
Oh, that's interesting. Sounds like a good safety net, especially when you're worried about the market taking a sudden nosedive.
It can be, especially in a market as unpredictable as crypto. And another important part of risk management is understanding the whole regulatory landscape. We talk about how regulations are changing fast, and what's allowed in one place might be totally banned in another.
So it's not just about the tech and the market trends. You got to be aware of the legal side of things, too.
Absolutely. Our source, they encourage everyone to stay informed about the regulations in their own region and how those regulations might affect their investments. There's tons of information online. It's definitely worth taking the time to educate yourself.
All right, so wrapping all this up, what's the biggest takeaway you want to leave our listener with today?
I think the most important thing to remember is that the crypto world, yeah, it's full of potential, it's exciting, but you got to approach it with a balanced view. Don't just chase the hype or blindly follow the crowd.
Right. Do your own research, understand the risks, and come up with a strategy that fits your goals and your risk tolerance.
Exactly. The crypto space, it never stops changing. It's what makes it both challenging and so rewarding to be a part of.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what part of the crypto world over the next few months are you most curious about? Is it a specific event, a certain cryptocurrency, or maybe one of those market trends we talked about?
That's a good question. As you continue exploring this world, I want to leave you with this thought. We've talked about those potential altcoin seasons, the whole meme coin frenzy, the impact of regulations. But what if the biggest thing that happens this year isn't any of that? What if it's something we haven't even thought of yet? Something that completely changes the game?
That's, a really interesting question. The future of crypto, it's being written right now. It's an exciting ride to be on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. And until next time, happy exploring.